Next part of this tour.
Yes, sir.
So, there we go. So this is a picture of William McKinley, future United States President William McKinley. As George Crook's Army of West Virginia and Duval's division are marching through the Huntsberry property, Thoburn's men are going to start driving through the middle field, or the first woods, the middle field. He'll send 3 of his regiments to actually go ahead and to resist the Confederate fire on the edge of the Redbud Run. So he'll position 3 regiments perpendicularly from the rest of his men. The Thoburn's operating south of the Redbud Run immediately from us. At that moment, William McKinley is sent from George Crook all the way to the south side of the Redbud Run. He's trying to find Joseph Thoburn. Basically, he's going to tell him that Duval is about to get into position, and when Duval begins his attack, to follow up and begin Thoburn's attack as well. So as McKinley crosses the south side of the Redbud Run, he's looking for Thoburn. He ends up running into somebody else instead, and that is General Sheridan, command of the entire army of the Shenandoah. And Sheridan is electric on this battlefield today. He's riding up and down the lines, he's steaming, he's ordering his men back up to the front. There's actually instances where he rides in front of his men in between the battle lines. And Sheridan is going to immediately send William McKinley back to the north side of the Redbud Run. And basically what McKinley's orders are is to go ahead and tell Crook and Duval to begin their attack immediately. Sheridan will personally find Joseph Thoburn and will tell him to begin his attack on the south side of Redbud Run. But as Duval's men surge through this field right here that you guys just walked through, they'll march right around where our modern Ohio monument is today. That is a new monument for our battlefield, was erected in 2023, so it's one of our newer ones. It's got all the Ohio volunteer regiments that are in this Battle of 3rd Winchester listed on the front side of the monument. Back side of the monument lists some of the well-known commanders who were from the state of Ohio who are here at this battlefield. It also includes the name Opequon and 3rd Winchester, the 2 separate names of this battle, depending if you were on the Union side or Confederates, will depend on what you refer to this battle in the post-war years. But as Duval's men will surge across this field, right in the property that we are now standing on, you're going to have Colonel Rutherford B. Hayes. Hayes is in command of an entire brigade here at this battle. His brigade is in the front of Duval's division. You have Daniel Johnson's brigade in the rear. And as Hayes surges through this property, he will go, or surges right through this land, he will go right down in that ravine and will begin crossing the Redbud Run. There's 2 roadblocks that are on the other side of the Redbud, or that are on the Redbud Run for him. The first one is going to be Confederate infantry and artillery. Originally, the Confederate battle line, you have Gordon's division right on the south side of the Redbud Run from here. They're positioned in a north-south orientation. The left flank of Gordon's division is Atkinson's Georgia Brigade, and they curve a little bit to resist this movement right here. Beyond that is going to be Braxton's artillery battalion. They're on a knoll, so they are ringing this position with with infantry shot and with artillery shot. And then eventually you're going to have Wharton's division coming up from Locks Ford, from the Valley Pike, and they will position in the rear behind Gordon's division. At that moment, one of the 3 brigades within Gabriel Wharton's division are recalled off, and they're going to position immediately on the other side of the Redbud Run from this crossing. And that brigade is going to be Colonel George Patton's brigade. He's got 3 regiments within his brigade, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 26th Virginia Infantry Battalions. He also has some straggling units from Wharton's division, including the 36th Virginia Infantry, 45th Virginia Battalion, and they are going to position, like I said, right on the other side of the Redbud Run, facing us right here. So as Rutherford B. Hayes and his brigade surge down this hill, they'll reach the water's edge, and they're going to be shot, and they're going to be running into a rain of infantry shot and of artillery shot. The second roadblock that's waiting for them at Redbud Run is the actual creek itself. You see, where they had crossed Redbud Run east of here, Duval's division crossed at a lot shallower of a location. You could wade right across it, walk right across it on your feet. Down at this area of Redbud Run, though, it is a swampy area. It's overgrown, it's muddy, it's about a little over waist deep in this area. So many of the men are going to halt right there on water's edge. At that moment, Rutherford B. Hayes is going to surge into the Redbud Run himself. He's riding on horseback here. The Redbud Run, right if you go down to this at the end of this tour, you can see about how wide it is, about 60 yards wide. He makes it about 30 yards across, about halfway, when his horse stops moving entirely. And his horse starts screaming, it's bucking. He realizes his horse is mired completely in the mud. He's not going to be able to move forward. So Hayes, in a panic, dismounts. He will wade across the Redbud Run on all fours, and he is reportedly, I say that with emphasis, reportedly, the first Union soldier to, or one of the first Union soldiers to make it to the south side of Red Bud Run. And he'll make it there with some of the other soldiers of the 36th Ohio Infantry. Then the rest of Hayes' brigade will follow them, and they will then begin massing on the north side, or the south side of Red Bud Run. Johnson's division, Daniel Johnson's division, they are in the rear of Hayes' brigade. Sorry, not Johnson's division, Johnson's brigade. So when Hayes' brigade surge down to the Red Bud Run, you're gonna have Johnson's brigade. They're gonna blip off, and they're gonna cross a little bit further west from here, further upstream, and that's a shallow area. Once again, much easier to cross than it would be for Hayes' brigade right here. But as we go into our next part of the battlefield, we have one more tour stop. It's gonna be right on the other side of Red Bud Run. We'll talk about the following action at the Hackwood property and some of the later action at that battlefield. But before we cross the Red Bud Run, I want you guys to put into your mind what is happening on this site here. Not only do you have a future president stuck in the mud leading this attack, but this is a site where you had brother versus brother here in this war. So many of the units in the Army of West Virginia are going to be raised in the counties that currently today make up West Virginia, including the Kanawha, or whoever
Kanawha.
Kanawha, yeah, there we go. Including regiments from the Kanawha Valley. Some of the Confederate Virginia infantrymen on the south side of Red Bud Run, including Patton's brigade and Wharton's division, they are going to be Virginia mountaineers from the Kanawha Valley as well. This includes counties such as Logan, Boone, Mingo County. So many of them are going to be out there on the south side of Red Bud Run. They will you're going to have the Union West Virginians charging against the Confederate Virginians from West Virginia's units right over the Red Bud Run. So, like I said, we commonly today gravitate towards some of those human interest stories in the Civil War, the fact that it is a brothers' war, and it definitely is right here on this property. You have men from the same county slugging it out over the Red Bud Run, right over the property that we're just about to walk by. Do you have a question?
Yes.
Yes.
What happened to his horse?
Don't think his horse made it across with the rest of his men, so it was probably not a good day for his horse, sadly. Question, sir.
Did the rest of his men have to crawl?
Many of them will wade across the same type of way that he would, with like that kind of the swim across. But some of them will hold their rifles above their head. They'll try to wade across because it is waist deep, but it's muddy, so some of them will be stuck as well. It takes a while for Hayes' men to wade across Red Bud Run and to reform on the south side of the creek. And whenever you guys are, yes, sir.
So the Duval division that was moving this,
Yes.
did they encounter Confederate resistance?
They're going to counter minor Confederate resistance on the Huntsberry property. Some of the last stragglers of Colonel Payne's brigade of cavalry are out there on the Huntsberry farm, so they'll run into them. Then really they won't run into many Confederate forces in this area of the battlefield. But right when they cross the Red Bud Run, that's when they're going to be opposed by Atkinson's Georgians, Braxton's Artillery Battalion, and Colonel Patton's Virginia.
So the three Union regiments though, that were positioned at Conway.
Yes, so when they're positioned on the south side of Red Bud Run, where they are basically protecting the right flank of the Joseph Thurban's brigade or division as they charge through Middle Fields, First Woods against Gordon's position south of Red Bud Run. And they'll eventually be recalled back from their positions, which are perpendicular from how the rest of their units are, or from the rest of the division is marching, in order to take part in that attack around the Hackwood property that we're going to talk about next. Whenever you guys are ready, we'll head to our last battlefield location. We're just going to go to the other side of Red Bud Run. There's a marker over there. It gives you some good vantage point. So we'll talk a little bit over there. Not too long, though. You guys okay with